Hi, I'm Micki. Welcome to yoga. So we're going to do some gentle yoga today, and we're going to use some props. So one of the props that we'll start with is a blanket. And so you can use a blanket or a towel. You're going to take it in a large rectangle, and then you're going to just roll up the edge only a little bit. You could do a really, really small roll, or you could do it a little bit longer, but you're going to basically take it on your mat perpendicular, and then you're going to come to lie down on the mat. So you can bring either your feet as wide as the mat, and then find this place at your mid back where you can lie on the roll. And if your feet are as wide as your mat, you can allow your knees to tent together. And then cactus your arms out wide to the sides. Just start to allow yourself to settle in. Another leg variation would be to take your blocks, if you have them, and bring the soles of the feet to touch and the knees open wide. And so just allow yourself to come into a comfortable position. So as you begin to settle in, you can tune in with your breath. Notice what you notice, sensing the rise and fall. And if you have a specific intention for your practice this morning, you could feel free to bring that intention to mind. I do have a theme for today's class. So this is the last of the yamas, and it's called Aparigraha. And it means non-possessiveness. So the 5 yamas help inform how we can best interact with the world. So I have a short reading from the book by Deborah Adele. She says, the jewel of Aparigraha invites us to enjoy life to the fullest. Aparigraha, or non-possessiveness, can also be interpreted as non-attachment, non-greed, non-clinging, non-grasping, non-coveting. We can simply think of it as being able to let go. What if we could trust life like we trust the breath? What if we can take in all the nourishment of the moment and then let go fully, trusting that more nourishment will come? So if that idea of Aparigraha, non-possessiveness, speaks to you, you might use it today as an intention for your practice. Maybe inviting yourself into the fullness of your inhale, and then allowing it to release with your exhale. Are there other things that you can release along with the breath? Any tension, stress? You might think about what are the things you'd like to release. And then from here, we're going to start to windshield wiper the knees a little bit side to side. So if your feet were open wide to the sides, you can use the palm of your hands to sweep the knees together, and then walk your feet as wide as the mat. You can continue to cactus your arms or reach them out wide to the sides. And with your next exhale, allow the knees to float over to the left. And you might turn your gaze gently to the right. You can pause here, or maybe you'd like a little bit more activity. So feel free to take your own time using the pace of your own breath to gently windshield wiper the knees from side to side. And if this feels at all uncomfortable with the blanket roll underneath you, you're welcome to remove that at any time. So just give yourself a chance to tune into the sensations of the body. Coming back to the idea of non-possessiveness, Aparigraha, you might notice if any thoughts of the past or plans for the future start to creep into your awareness. Maybe with your exhale, you can imagine them like a delicate butterfly. Any thoughts that are lingering in your mind, you could allow them to gently float away, flutter away, trusting that just like the breath, they will return when you most need them. And go ahead and take one more round of breath on each side. Take your time, moving at your own pace. We'll remove the blanket roll from underneath us. So you can roll to one side, press yourself up, and then move the prop out of the way. We'll use the blanket later. And then go ahead and come back onto the back. Allow your back to press up against the mat, feeling your spine lengthen on the mat. Just notice the difference from when you had that blanket roll. And then next, if you have a tennis ball handy, I actually have two in a sock tied together, but you can use one. Actually, I think these might be racket balls. We're going to find a little bit of a back massage along the spine. So when you do two in one like this, you can place it on either side of the spine, or you can just use one on one side. So allow yourself to lie back. You can still plant your feet on the mat, and then maybe you either find stillness if you're finding a place of tension that would like to release, or you could gently glide your body, finding a gentle massage along the spine. Allowing yourself to glide up and down the length of your spine, maybe in between the shoulder blades. You can always feel free to roll over to one side and reposition the ball, or if you have two tied together in a sock. And take some nice deep breaths here. Noticing if you can release any tension with the breath. Continuing to tune into sensations. Because this is your very own practice, you're always welcome to linger in any pose that's feeling good, or move out sooner. So just tune in with your own body and your own breath. Notice what feels right for you today. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And then when you're ready, you can move the prop off to the side. So you might roll onto one side and remove the ball and set it off to the side. And then once more, we'll return to the back. You could take a nice deep breath here, and then go ahead and reach for your strap. So I'm gonna have mine up here. So if your strap is extra long, like I actually have a 10-foot strap, You could wrap this all the way around the body in a loop, or you can also just use it as reins. So I kind of like to do it in a big loop, and then you're going to stretch your foot into that loop. Actually, I realize this one is too looped, so you can let it loose a little bit, and you can always take a towel or some other object if you don't have this long strap. And we're going to stretch the right leg into the strap, so you can press the strap around the ball mound of your right foot. You might plant your left foot on the mat with the knee bent. If you'd like a little bit of a deeper stretch, you can extend the left leg long. This might feel like a nice opening through the front of your hip. And just take a nice deep breath, allowing the breath to cascade down the back of the leg. Keeping it active by imagining you're stamping it on the ceiling, but keeping a nice gentle softness through the knee. Take one more nice deep breath here, and then we'll open the knee, or open the leg out to the right. Sorry, my kitty's getting into something, so I have to tell her no. So you'll allow the leg to open out to the right, sending the breath down the inside of the right leg, stretching through the inner seam. You can take one more nice deep breath here. And then with the next inhale, we'll float the leg back up to center, and you can allow the leg to just gently cross the midline. If you have your hand around the strap, you can bring the strap into the left hand. And you're not really coming into a twist here, so let's keep the right hip with contact to the ground. Take one more nice deep breath. And then we'll inhale it back to center. And you can release your foot from the strap. Stretch both legs long and just notice maybe any sensations in the right leg. When we do this, it's like a gentle inversion, so you can imagine that the reverse of gravity and circulation down the leg. And then go ahead and bend into the knees, plant both feet on the mat, and we'll stretch the left leg up now towards the sky, wrapping the strap around the ball mound of the left leg. You can hold on with both hands, or you could maybe have the strap that's long enough to wrap around you. Maybe tighten it a little bit. And if you'd like, you can stretch the right leg long, pointing the right toes up towards the sky. Imagining you could stamp the left foot onto the ceiling, and the right foot onto the wall in front of you. And just allow the breath to cascade down the back of the leg. We'll take another nice deep breath here, and then you can move the strap into your left hands, or into your left hand. I guess you only have one of those. And then open the left leg out to the left. Allowing the breath to cascade down the inseam of your left leg. We'll take another nice deep breath here. And then you can draw the leg back up to center. You switch the reins of your strap over to the right hand. And find that stretch down the outside of the right leg. Take another nice deep breath here. Whenever you're ready, you can come back to center, release the strap, and allow both legs to stretch long. And you might reach both arms overhead. Find a long body stretch. Now we'll find a side bend. So you can walk your arms over to the right, finding length all along your left side body. Maybe you grasp hold of your left hand with your left wrist with your right hand. And then you can walk the legs over to the right as well. Maybe you cross your right ankle over your left shin. And allow the breath to cascade down the side of the body. And then whenever you're ready, you can release your binds, walk it back to center. Take a long body stretch here. And then we'll walk it over to the other side. So bring the hands over towards the left. Maybe grasp hold of the right wrist with the left hand. And then you can walk the legs over to the left. Maybe cross the left ankle over the right shin. Allowing the breath to cascade down the side of the body. And we'll take one more nice deep breath here. And then you can walk it back to center. Let's go ahead and bend into the knees, and you can draw the knees up into your chest and start to either rock and roll up and down the length of your spine, or if that is not feeling good, you can always roll over to one side to come up into a seat. Maybe you want to use the blanket to create a little bit of height in your seat. So you could bend the blanket, fold the blanket into a little square, and then sit on top of the blanket. This will allow your hips to be a little bit higher than your knees. That can help to lengthen your spine. Sorry, my cat is having quite an episode. crying. So once you arrive into your seat, take a moment to settle your eyes. Allow your chin to gently tuck towards your chest. And then we're going to start to create some circles with the nose. So you can flutter your eyes open if you like, or keep a soft gaze, or close down the eyes. And we'll start to just draw a circle in front of your face with your nose. So allowing the chin to trace the chest, and then bringing the nose up and around. You can take this really slowly, feeling into the different muscles of the neck. Exhaling any tension or holding. Don't worry, because we're going to be reversing the direction. So take one more round in this direction. And then when you're ready and your chin is towards your chest, you can start to reverse the direction of your nose circles. inviting any tension to release with the breath. And then we'll go ahead and come back to stillness after your next round. Take your time, move at your own pace. And once you come back to neutral, we are going to be moving into hands and knees for cat-cow, but remember that you can always do cat-cow seated. So if you prefer to be off of your wrists, you can find a lot of different positions here. So you might even try it out while you're sitting. You can press your hands into your knees. Inhale to lift your heart. Exhale to round into your spine. Feel free to give that a few rounds seated, or if you'd like to come into hands and knees, tabletop, you might even use the blanket underneath your knees for a little more padding. And you can still modify this on the wrists. If you have two blocks, you could bring the blocks on the medium setting and come onto the forearms. Even if you don't have blocks, you actually could still come onto the forearms for cat and cow. So find what works best for you. We'll inhale to drop the belly. Exhale to round into the spine. Go ahead and take a few more rounds like this, following the pace of your own breath. After a few rounds, it might feel good to find any other movements here, like maybe drawing a big circle with the belly button. Imagining you're tracing the inside of a hula hoop. And if you find any places that need extra attention, you might pause there for a breath. And then when you're ready, go ahead and reverse the direction of your circle. If you're making a circle with the belly button. Tuning into your breath. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath wherever you're at. And then from here, we're going to come on to forearms next. So we'll meet up in a neutral spine, and then you can come down onto your forearm. And from here, let's extend the right leg back, and you can tuck the toes under, press the heel towards the mat. Take a nice deep breath here. Then we're going to turn this into a little bit of a side bend. So you can step the right foot over towards the left. And then maybe you peek your gaze over behind your left shoulder. You could even walk your forearms over to the left. Just notice where you feel sensation here. Take one more nice deep breath, and then we'll come back to center on our forearms and our knees. So you can bring both knees back under the body. This time, reach your left leg behind you, tuck the toes under, press the heel towards the mat. Find some length through the back of your left leg, your calf. And you can continue to press into the forearm so you're not allowing the heart to dip down. But keep the heart floating. And then we'll cross the left leg over to the right. Maybe you turn your gaze back to look at your right heel. Could also, or your left heel, I guess. Could also walk your forearms over to the right. Take another nice deep breath here. And then we'll come back to center. We're going to do some, whatchamacallits, some fire hydrants here. And so let's just try it out. If you want to take a break, you can do just a few of them, or you can always take a child's pose. So from your forearms, we're going to bring the left or the right knee out to the side in a fire hydrant. Then you might kick the right leg long, tap the toes down towards the ground, inhale to lift, come back to your fire hydrant, bending into the knee, and then bring that right knee back underneath the hip. That was one round on one side. So let's try it on the left. You might find that one on each side is enough, or you might want to repeat, rinse and repeat. So from here, we're going to lift the left knee up into a fire hydrant. You could stay right here or extend the left leg long, tap maybe the left toes to the ground, lift, and then bring the knee back to bend, and then lower your knee down to the ground. Feel free to try one more on each side. And I was also thinking you could even do this on your palms. It might even be easier on your palms. So let's try around. I'm going to try around on my palms rather than forearms. So let's go ahead. Inhale to lift the right knee. Exhale, kick the right leg long. Tap the right toes down. Inhale to lift. And then you can bend the knee for your fire hydrant. And then lower your knee back down to the ground. It's a lot of work. And you want to keep your gaze towards the ground so that you're not, wrenching your neck. Keep a long, neutral spine as much as possible. Okay, let's try that version on the left. So lift the left knee, extend the left leg long, out to the side, tap the toe down to the ground, lift the foot, come back to your fire hydrant, and go ahead and soften the knee down to the ground. Feel free to take one more round on each side of whichever version you like. And then we are going to make our way to child's pose after that. So when you're ready for your child's pose, if you'd like to take a supported child's pose, you could bring a block or two. I'm going to do one on the low setting, one on the medium setting, and then maybe you want a supported child's pose with a bolster or a pillow. So you could bring the knees wide, bring the bolster in between the thighs, and then allow your heart to melt forward. You might switch your gaze in one direction, and halfway through, we'll switch sides. If you have the bolster like this with the blocks underneath, you could weave your hands underneath you to hold on to the bolster. Maybe give it a hug. And if you don't have these props, you can always just take a regular child's pose, bringing your knees wide, your toes to touch, sinking your hips back and extending your arms out in front. If you're resting with one cheek on a bolster, go ahead and switch sides, turning your gaze in the other direction, allowing your temple to rest. Take another nice deep breath wherever you landed. And then when you're ready, we'll push ourselves up to tabletop. And if you have these props underneath you, you can move them off to the side. Just remember that you're always welcome to stay longer in poses if you'd like. Try to get a lot of things in here, huh? So now we're going to be making our way onto our bellies, and I thought we would come through our forearm plank. So you can come onto your forearm. You can also take a high plank if you like. I like this one because it's less pressure on my wrists. So you can always try a forearm plank on your knees by just walking your knees back, maybe tucking the toes under. Maybe you want to lift one knee to hover, and then lift the other knee to hover. You might notice some trembling as your core muscles start to engage. Maybe you want to lift both knees to hover. So feel free to play around with your forearm plank, and then whenever you feel ready, you can lower onto the belly completely. Scooch the hips back, untuck the toes, and press the forearms into the mat. Your elbows are resting underneath your shoulders for Sphinx pose. You can energetically drag the forearms back as you reach the heart forward. Nice back bend, leading with the heart. On your next exhale, go ahead and turn your gaze behind your right shoulder, any amount that feels good for you. Inhale back to center, and exhale, you can turn your gaze past your left shoulder. It doesn't have to go far to feel a stretch or sensation. You might just observe the differences from left to right. Feel free to turn your gaze once more, side to side. And then we'll stack the palms, bring the elbows out wide to the side, and lower the forehead down to the back of the hands. Allow yourself to rest here in your crocodile pose, Andrasana. Sensing that rise and fall of the breath, practicing Aparigraha, non-possessiveness. Allow the exhale to help you release anything that's no longer serving you. And then we'll turn the gaze to the left. Reach the hands behind you with the palms face up. Allow your temple to rest. And soften here for a moment. On the next inhale, we'll lift the gaze to center, right underneath the face. And then you can reach the arms up towards the sky and lift the legs for a flying superhero. You can stay right here, or on the next inhale, you might sweep the arms forward and exhale to fly them back. Feel free to take 2 more rounds like that. Balancing on the belly. And then on the next exhale, when you feel complete, you can turn your gaze to the right, soften your left temple towards the mat. Relax your arms and your shoulders with your palms face up. And if your left temple, like mine, doesn't quite reach the mat, you can tuck the toes under and gently glide the body forward to make a little more space. Take a moment to delight in this time of rest and tune into your breath. When you're ready, we'll bring the palms underneath the shoulders. Start to press the tops of the feet in the mat, and then roll the heart up as you gently press into the mat for a baby cobra. On the next exhale, you can release that. Allow your forehead to soften towards the mat. And then we'll tuck the toes under, press up through table or plank. And then you might find a downward facing dog from here. So if you'd like to take downward dog with a little more support, you could bring blocks underneath the palms. And for downward dog, let's also clear any other props off of the mat. So if you have your blanket, you can set that off to the side. So I'm going to try downward dog on blocks, and you could also have them on the medium setting. You just would want to make sure that they don't feel too wobbly. So I'm going to use them on the low setting for more stability. And then the heel of your hand would rest right at the edge of the block. You could tuck the toes under, press the hips up and back, lengthen the spine, and then start to maybe pedal out the heels, sashaying the hips a little side to side. From here, we'll either hop or walk to find a forward fold. You can walk your feet to your hands or your hands to your feet. And I'm going to move my blocks onto the high setting. But if you don't have a set of blocks, you can always bring your hands to rest on your shins. From here, we'll inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale to forward fold. Go ahead and take 2 more rounds like that. Inhale for halfway lift. Softening the gaze towards the ground, lengthening through the spine. Exhale for forward fold. Inhale. Halfway lift. Exhale. Forward fold. And then on the next inhale, you can bend into the knees, sweep the hands up and overhead, and exhale to draw the hands to the heart center. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, draw the hands to the heart center. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Samastitihi. We'll meet with the hands at the heart center. And then I was mentioning we're going to get ready for a little bit of a flow, and we're going to end with half moon pose. So if you had a wall space where you were able to, at least you could either be parallel to the wall for support. I don't have enough space here at my wall to stretch out, especially because these are slippery. But you could be against a wall or a door or even just some furniture to hold on to, because we're going to get into a balancing pose. So go ahead and take your blocks with you. And you can also do this without a wall space too. So if you're going to get ready for a wall space, then I think you'll be okay there because you have the furniture. Yeah. So from here, let's go ahead and step our right foot forward and our left leg back. So if you're at the wall, you could have your left foot all the way pressed up against the wall and then climb your right foot out to find a deep lunge for warrior 2. And we're going to have our torso facing towards the side, and then you can reach your, what is this now? Your right hand out. I can't really reach my left hand back because the wall's there, so I'll just bring my hand to my hip here. Take a nice deep breath here. Remember, you can always do this without the wall too. We've done this warrior 2 maybe before. Take a nice deep breath, allow the shoulders to soften away from the ears. And then take a moment to think of someone special. And on your next inhale, You can flip your palm up towards the sky, your right palm, and then go ahead and float your right hand up for Peaceful Warrior, sending that blessing out into the universe for that person. Take another nice deep breath here. And on your next exhale, we'll come back to Warrior Two. And then on your next inhale, you can flip your right palm up like you're serving a platter. Bring your forearm to your knee for extended side angle. You can either keep that left hand on your hip, or you might float the left hand up towards the sky, or reach it like an arrow past the ear with the palm facing down. Take another nice deep breath here in your extended side angle. And then whenever you're ready, we'll inhale back up to Warrior Two. And from here, we're just gonna play around with Andrasana, half moon pose. So your legs are in the right position and you can just hold your Warrior Two and watch for a moment. I have a nice piece of furniture here to help with balance, but I'm gonna take a block out in front of me. And then from here, you can launch up to find balance. And if you have that wall behind you, you can literally stamp your foot on the wall. Then maybe you bring the left hand to your hip. You might stretch the left hand up towards the sky. And if you had a piece of furniture or a wall behind you, you can always kind of lean into it a little bit to help with balance. If you're feeling steady here and you'd like to challenge your balance a little more, you could always start to try and turn your gaze upward towards your palm. It's even hard for me here at the wall. Whenever you're ready, bring your hand to your hip or to your support, and you can land your back foot, and we'll come back up and find Warrior Two. Now I'm gonna go ahead and come back to the mat and try the other side without the wall, because otherwise I think I would be facing the wrong way. So let's see, what did we do? We just did, I have to remember the orientation. We had our right foot forward. So now we're gonna have, let's come back to standing. You can bring your props with you. You can always try this with or without the wall or other supports. But if you had a chair, that would work too. In fact, why don't I just bring this chair right over? Try it with the chair. Whoops. Pillow's crashing down. I have the chair there now, just in case I need it. So from here, let's step the left foot forward, right foot back. So if you're just doing this on your mat, you're gonna line up your heel of your left foot with the arch of your right foot. And then your torso is pointing over towards the right. And then we'll float the left arm forward, the right arm back. Allow yourself to settle into your Warrior Two, finding that bend in your front knee. Once you have a strong, steady base, imagine your heart and your shoulders and arms floating over that strong, steady base. And then we'll slide the right hand down the right leg, lift the left hand up. Maybe you send a blessing to someone else. And Peaceful Warrior. Take a nice deep breath here. And then we'll float it back to Warrior Two. On the next exhale, you can serve your platter in front of you with your left hand. Bring your left hand to your right thigh, or your left thigh, I should say. Maybe you point your right fingertips up towards the sky, or maybe you reach them past the ear. I can notice on this side that this is the shoulder that I hurt. Doing water aerobics of all Take a nice deep breath here. On your next inhale, we'll return to Warrior Two. And then from Warrior Two, we're gonna get ready for our half moon. So if you had a chair, as long as it's not wobbly, you could use that, or you can use this block. Step the block out in front. You can bring your right hand to your right hip, and maybe you start to launch forward. You can do this with both hands on a chair, one hand on a chair, one hand on a block. And it's like your hips are stacked and your back foot is pointing towards the back wall, is stepping on the back wall with your toes out to the side. Maybe you reach your right hand up towards the sky. And you could also lift your gaze. Whenever you're ready, we'll land back into our Warrior Two. So dropping that back foot, and maybe you spin the arms open for Warrior Two. From here, let's go ahead and make our way back up to standing. And you can inhale to reach your arms up and overhead. Exhale to swan dive forward. Inhale for halfway lift. And exhale to forward fold. You can go ahead and make your way to either downward facing dog or child's pose. Just gonna move this off to the side. From your downward facing dog, let's come into either a pigeon, or if you prefer, you can come on your back into figure four pose. So for pigeon, you're gonna swing your right knee forward towards your right wrist, extend your left leg back, and if you had a block or a bolster, you could slide it underneath your hip. If this is not comfortable for you, then I'll show figure four, but you can allow your heart to melt forward here. And maybe you stack your fists to make a little pillow to rest your forehead. If you prefer the figure four, you can always come onto your back and bring your right ankle over your left thigh. And then either stay here or draw the shape into your body, holding on to the sides of your pant leg. Or if you have that wall space handy, or maybe a chair, you could also put your foot up onto a surface to help bring a little more stretch to the outside of your right hip. So wherever you land, allow yourself to settle in. Breathing into any sensations in the body. Noticing where you can soften. Take one more nice deep breath. And if you're in your pigeon pose, go ahead and allow that prop to come out from underneath your hip. And then you'll be in kind of a pinwheel shape with your legs here. On the next inhale, we'll float the arms up and overhead. And then exhale, bring your left hand onto your right knee. Maybe bring the block behind you for a twist. You can send your gaze over your right shoulder. With your next exhale, Allow your chin to trace the front of your chest, and you can turn just your gaze behind your left shoulder. Take one more nice deep breath here. And then we'll release the twist. And you can make your way to downward facing dog if you want to do pigeon on the second side, or come onto your back for figure four. So I'm going to use blocks underneath my hands for downward dog. You can take a few rounds of breath in your down dog, maybe pedal the heels, sashay the hips a little side to side. And then whenever you're ready, we'll bend into that left knee. Draw the left knee up towards your left wrist. Go ahead and drop the right knee down. And you might start out in an upright pigeon shape. I like to use my hands on blocks here. But whenever you're ready, you can either bring a block or a bolster or any other supports that might be helpful underneath that left hip. And then you can lower down. You might bring your fists to stack, make a little pillow to rest your forehead. But if pigeon's not where it's at for you today, remember we can always do figure four on our back. So for that, we would just come to lying on your back, bring the left ankle this time over the right thigh. And this can be really nice if you have the support of a couch or a wall to stamp your right foot on so that you can relax your upper body. But you could always reach down with your hands and weave your hands around the back of your thigh. Take another nice deep breath here. And you can always stay longer in pigeon if that's where it's at for you today. But we can turn pigeon into a twist. So this time you're going to lower your left hip and you'll come into a pinwheel shape with your knees. And then you can inhale to reach your arms up and overhead. Bring the right hand down to the left knee. Maybe bring a block behind you. Rest your right hand, and you can turn your gaze past your right shoulder now. Hope I didn't turn myself around with all of that. On your next exhale, allow your chin to sweep across the front of your chest, and you can turn your gaze past your right shoulder. Take another nice deep breath here. And exhale to release. And then let's swing both feet forward. So the knees are pointing up towards the sky. You can walk your feet as wide as your mat. And then we're going to soften the knees to the right. Float your arms to the right. Turn your gaze behind your shoulder. Inhale, we'll bring the knees and the arms back to center and float it to the other side. And you can continue like this, windshield wipering from side to side. The next time you come onto the right, you might plant your right hand and maybe press into the earth, lifting the hips, reaching the hand overhead for Stargazer Pose. On the next exhale, lower the hips, sweep the hands over to the left, plant the left palm, maybe press into the earth, lift the hips, float the right arm up and overhead. And on the next exhale, we'll release that And let's come back to center now. And you can press the feet out in front. Reach the arms past the knees. And we're going to play around with boat pose. So you can stay right here, or you might bring your hands behind your thighs and maybe you lift one leg or the other leg or both legs or no legs at all. So feel free to play around with balance. And then we'll meet back up with our feet on the ground, and you can start to lower your torso down until you roll onto your back. Maybe you walk your hands up towards your calves or your shins, maybe the knife edge of your foot. Then you can gently rock a little side to side, finding happy baby pose. Maybe exhale out through the mouth. And if there are any other last shapes that are feeling like they're calling for you, you're welcome to spend a few more rounds of breath exploring those now. If you have that pillow or bolster we used earlier, for your final resting pose, you might place it underneath the knees for a little bit of support, or underneath the thighs. If you're cold, feel free to cozy up with a sweatshirt or a blanket. And allow yourself a moment to settle in, sensing the earth rising to meet you, softening the eyes, smoothing out the eyelids, softening the hinge of your jaw, and allowing your shoulders to rest heavy on the earth. You might imagine for a moment that your body is plugging into the earth with a perfect fit to allow you this time to rest, rejuvenate, recharge. And then take a moment to revisit your intention for your practice. You might imagine that intention is like a glowing jewel at your heart center. With the breath, continue to practice your Aparigraha, non-possessiveness, letting it go, noticing what you can also let go of with the breath. And I'm just going to revisit to the theme in the book by Deborah Adele, The Yamas and the Niyamas. She says, anything we cling to creates a maintenance problem for us. The material items that we hoard, collect, buy because they are on sale, or take because they are free, all take up space and demand our attention. Subtle attachments come in the form of our images and beliefs about ourselves, about how life should be, about how others should be. These images keep us in bondage to our own learning and growth. clutter in our physical space blocks our ability to physically move, while clutter in our minds blocks our freedom to expand and have space for the next thing life wants to bring us. Non-attachment does not mean that we don't care or that we somehow shut ourselves off from the pleasure and joy of life and each other. In fact, non-attachment frees us up to be immersed in appreciation of life and one another. We are asked to let go of the clinging to the thing, not the enjoyment of the thing itself. Letting go of the ownership opens us up to full engagement with what is set before us in the present moment. Life becomes a banquet. We are free to feast. Like the breath, we are invited to breathe in deeply, enjoy the fullness of the inhale, and then to let go as deeply and fully, enjoying the release of the exhale. Practicing constant generosity and unfailing trust will keep our greed in check and keep us open to life's unfolding. What wants to come to us is so great. You can allow the words to gently wash over you. And then just like those butterfly thoughts, you can allow them to gracefully drift away. Now imagine for a moment you're lying in a grassy field. Notice the impression that your body is making. We are here on this earth to self-express in a way no one else has ever done or ever could. Now take a moment to bring your awareness back to that light glowing within your heart. Imagine it has a specific color. With your inhale, it's filled with bright light. And with the exhale, allow it to gently soften and fade. And then you can take your awareness out into the universe. recognizing what a miracle it is to be here together, alive in this time and place. Allow your awareness to come back into your heart center. And with each inhale, notice the expanse of your heart center, radiating, growing in all directions, increasing your capacity to give and receive love from your heart center. You can start to invite a little bit of movement now into your fingers and into your toes. Gently rotating your wrists and your ankles. When you're ready, feel free to stretch your arms overhead, finding a long body stretch from your fingertips to your toes. And then whenever you're ready, you can roll onto one side and find a fetal position. Feel free to pause there for a few rounds of breath. Cradling your head onto your bicep. And then when you're ready, you can press yourself up into a seat. You can circle sweep your arms up and overhead, drawing your hands to your heart center. Allow your head to gently bow towards your heart. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me this morning. Namaste. Give me 1 minute and I will stop the recording and let me know if you have any thoughts or questions. Thanks, everyone.